Okay, I'm just going to be sharing my screen, folks. So hopefully I can get things going. Right, we're live on Facebook and I'm just going to be sharing my... We're live on YouTube. Hey, I'm getting better at this. Live streaming and multiple things. 1 second. Just getting my ducks in a row. Right, let's crack on. So, hey everyone on YouTube, Facebook, and Zoom, very much appreciated. So today we're going to go through a number of things. I'm going to rattle through this stuff here first, and then we'll open it up for questions. I'm going to give you a quick bullshit coin identifier tip. We'll then look at why historic trends do help forecast potential future trends, the worst shitcoins ever, and what out there right now, and how one would protect themselves if there was ever an inflationary or hyperinflationary event. Now, bear with me because there is a bit of a punchline at the end of this, and it's worth waiting for. So, without further ado, quick bullshit coin identifier tip. So, one of the things which you have to be aware of, especially when it comes to crypto, is tokenomics. And I talk about this equation all the time in terms of, I call it the more patience Kryptonians equation, which basically stands for market cap, as in the amount of money sloshing around a particular project, the price of a coin, and then the circulating supply. Now, when you know this equation, or when you have this equation in the back of your head, you can work out pretty much most things. And so, for example, someone was saying to me the other day, like, what are the likelihoods of Dogecoin getting to $10? Well, basically, I then just ran the maths. So, for example, if you wanted Doge to be 10, so you just do the little equation yourself. So, if you want $10 over here, what is the circulating supply? Well, then you need to grab another browser. You then need to find out some of the tokenomics around Doge. So, if you click on Doge, and then have a little look around here. So at the moment, there's a total supply of 129.5 billion coins, but there's no max supply. And if you look through the white paper, etc., you'll see that Doge has no max supply. And then when you look through the white paper, you then have to realize, okay, well, what is the distribution of this coin? Like, how many new coins are being like dished into the system every single day, every single year? Well, I've done the work for you. The answer is 5 billion coins a year. So then you have to sort of work out, okay, well, within what time frame? So let's say it's, is it likely, if we're going to hit a $10 Doge over the next year, well, we need to add that to the total supply. So 5 billion, let's call it $135 billion coins. So circulating supply, 135 billion. In fact, was that right? My memory is awful. Yeah, 135 billion. And so in order for this to happen, this will then show you what the market cap would need to be. So it will be 135 billion times 10. So 1.35 trillion, I think, off the top of my head. You basically add a zero to that. So yeah. So what this means is that in order for Doge to hit $10 a Doge, there needs to be a market cap of $1.35 trillion in Doge. Now, to put that in perspective, what is the whole crypto market cap right now? It's about $2.5 trillion. If you were to look at Bitcoin right now, it's just over $1 trillion. So, like, that is a lot of money. I personally can't see $1 trillion running into into Doge. And it's the same. We've seen all sorts of different things like Safe Moon, mooning. So, for example, like Safe Moon is another shitcoin that everyone's piling into. I mean, ironically, I've doubled my money on this one, and like other ones like Kishu, I've got in, and I got in down here. No, not even May, 30th of April. I got in. Jesus, 30th of April. So I got in all the way down here, and I only put $370 in. It's now like $4,000. But anyway, and so in fact, let's just look at this one, Kishu Inu. So someone said, "Oh, Simon, all this needs to do is get to $1." Well, okay, let's work this out. So if you want $1 of Kishu Inu, what's the max supply? The max supply is, oh, Jesus Christ. That's a million, billion, trillion. Wait a minute. That's it. So that is a million billion. It's 100,000 trillion. One. So is that 10 quadrillion? Oh man, my numbers are billion, trillion, quadrillion. It's 100 quadrillion. Oh, Jesus Christ. So it's 100 quadrillion max supply. Right. Well, that's pretty easy to work out. I'm pretty sure Kishu Inu is never going to $1. Why? Because it's $1 times 100 quadrillion. So that means in order for this to happen, there needs to be $100 quadrillion that will flow into Kishu. It's never going to happen, folks. And this is why I see loads of uninformed people on the internet going, "Oh, Doge is going to $10 or $50 Doge or something like that." Well, you just got to sort of be careful. Now, in going back to what I said over here, a quick bullshit identifier tip. I guess the big thing for me is the max supply. One of the first things I look at with all new coins is I look at the max supply. Now, if it's something ridiculous like this, it's going to be, it's going to be silly. And also, I always look at the distribution curve, as in, how many coins are being minted or mined every single day, every single year, etc. And so the quick heads up is that if the max supply, now this is like, so 90% of the time, this little rule of thumb will help you. Max supply is super high. And I'm talking like, 100 billion coins or something like that. And distribution is open-ended. I tend to walk away. So that's why I know Doge has had a good run, but I'm not interested in getting into Doge because, if you just put it this way, Doge is what, like, I don't know, call it 50 cents at a $64 billion market cap. In order for Doge to get to $1, another $64 billion has to flow into Doge. And I think most people that have already bought Doge are already in it. So it's going to be hard finding an extra $64 billion just to flow into it. And also it's open-ended. 5 billion coins per year are put into that. So let's work that out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Divide that by 365. Geez, 13.7 million Doge coins are introduced to the network every single day. You're just getting diluted away. So it's not good. So it's designed. So whoever made it designed it to stay low in terms of price. By the way, they orchestrated it. So that's one thing. This is, I don't like open-ended coins. I like coins with a max supply and open-ended. So on the flip side, if I find something with very low max supply, like 1 million or 100 million, I'm instantly interested. And then I look at the distribution, and the only way you'll find the distribution is by looking at the white paper. So that's the first little thing I want to quickly breeze over. Now, historic trends do help forecast future trends sometimes, and there is a big caveat here. The caveat is sometimes. And one second, where am I? And when I say sometimes, I mean especially when it comes to governments. So we have thousands of years of very accurate historic data of what governments and politicians do. It's pretty much like a guaranteed thing. Like we know what politicians will do. They will always do whatever it takes to get reelected. They'll do whatever it takes to have, crony back end deals with, their mate company getting certain government contracts, etc. We've seen all this bullshit with COVID and, the amount of companies Matt Hancock is part of, or his family is part of, which got £1 million contracts, all that sort of stuff. But when it comes to currency dilution, it's like there's a Scotsman called John Law. I think it's with an E or no E, can't remember. I think it's John Law. Anyway, he was a gambler, yada yada yada, and he ended up in France. So this is France, and this is the UK. And he basically managed to wangle his way into being the head financier of France. And he was basically like the equivalent of the chancellor. And he came up with this idea of, well, how about we just print, and then we can buy whatever we want. And so the prince, or the king at the time, was really happy because he was like, John Law was printing shitloads of francs. And then all of a sudden France got really wealthy. Well, perceived wealth, because all they're doing is they're printing. And then there's it's a thing called the Cantillon effect. So yeah, if I was like right now, if the UK government printed, $2 trillion, £2 trillion, it could actually go out in the market and buy £2 trillion worth of stuff at current prices. So it's great. However, the moment that £2 trillion enters the economy, it's going to dilute everything away and prices are going to go up, etc. And so since John Law, every government in the world has loved the print press. So if you look at pretty much any chart of any currency, I don't care what country, what time frame, it looks like this. The currency printing does this over time. In fact, no, it's more like this. It goes nothing, whee. And then the value, yeah. So if you look at this one, this is basically the currency being printed. So this is supply, I guess, total number. And if you were to plot the value of it, the value would be doing something like this. As in your purchasing power disappears. And if you ever want any shits and giggles, just go to Google, type in, I don't know, dollar historic value chart. 43 year now, here we go, value of the US dollar from 1635 to 2020. Oh, wow, look at that. So basically, the dollar has led a painful, slow death since year 1695, and since then, it's dying. Let's find another one. Let's look at a more recent one from 1971, because some people are probably thinking, yeah, but in the old days that happened. It doesn't happen anymore. Okay, well, this is the dollar since 1971 till now. Slow, painful death. Honestly, I could do this all day. You can pick any currency and it's going to be the same thing, even the pound. So that's the pound. So some people are probably here thinking, oh, well, the pound's different. The pound is strong. Pound historical value charts. British pound, 1957 till now. Sorry, that's pound dollar. That's not the pound. So it's pound against the dollar. Here we go. Value of £1. There we go. So this is why See, I look at the world differently because I look at the world through facts and pure empirical data. And what the facts are showing me is that currencies do one thing, which is go down, because governments are run by idiots all the time. I don't care like how clever governments are. Um, and and what tends to happen is that politicians end up running, you know, Rishi's different. So we have Rishi Sunak at the moment. He's actually a switched on cookie. He knows what he's doing. However, people like Rishi that end up as the chancellor have their hands tied behind their backs. So they could be, you know, the cleverest economist you could put in the position, but they can't do anything because their hands are tied behind their back. And the only thing they can do is print, print, print. This is why when you look at anything like, I don't know, M2 money supply, which is like the broadest, one of the broadest. I mean, M3 is the broadest one, but most people look at M2. Well, this is the amount of money that they're printing. So, and it goes on and on and on. So the reason why the value, the purchasing power is plummeting is because they're print, 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 print. And this is not going to stop. In fact, the more you print, the more you then have to continue printing. You just need to look at Japan. Japan is a prime example. So going back to what I said over here, historic trends do help forecast future trends, especially when it comes to what the government will do with its currency. It's guaranteed that the government will end up printing. The purchasing power will go down and down and down. And what you'll actually see is that if we were to do this slightly more accurately, let's just delete all the lines, is that you have these reaccountancies of itself. So every currency on the planet will have some sort of reevaluation. So if this is the value, let's say this is a value chart. And over time, the value, it'll go flat, 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 flat. And then you'll have a sudden devaluation. Boom. Something happens, you know, the currency is unpegged from something, yada, yada, yada. And then not much will happen, not much. And then you have another depegging. And then sometimes even a slow and a constant devaluation. And so, and then when you look, so this is if you were to look at it in, you know, if you just really zoom in, but then if you were to really zoom out, all it would then look like is basically what we just saw, something like this, but over years and years and years. So remember, I am going to make a very important point soon, so please bear with me. So when I look at the world and go, right, I have my little indicator. I've got more sort of due diligence and, you know, flags, warning flags, etc. But when I'm looking at the world right now, at what is the worst shitcoin ever, well, surely the worst shitcoins on the planet right now are not Doge, not Kishu Inu, not SafeMoon. It's the US dollar and the pound sterling and the euro. They are the worst shitcoins ever. And they are guaranteed to do the same thing over and over again. Every major currency is guaranteed to do this in terms of purchasing power because they are printing like this. So the current, so that's what happens. Now, let's put ourselves in the position. In fact, 1 second, let's just get this back up. How many countries have had hyperinflation in the last 50 years? Let's just Google that. No. Okay, so obviously I haven't fact checked this. This is just looking at one little article. So apparently this article says this is in 2012, 29 hyperinflations in the last 100 years, etc., etc. There's been a few more because Venezuela was a recent one. Argentina's had a few more since 2012. But yeah, it happens a lot. And a lot of people think that hyperinflations happen in tin pot countries, etc., which is not true. It happens in big countries, big developed countries. I mean, no one was at the time would have thought the Soviet Union could do that, but it did. It collapsed in the 90s, etc. But we don't even have to look at hyperinflation. We just need to look at big inflation, which can and will happen in the US and the UK. But here's an example. Let's say you are your new name is now Pablo, and let's draw Pablo. And what is the female version of Pablo? Paula. So we have Paula and Pablo. Now, we are now Argentinians. We're just a nice couple, just everyday people in Argentina. And what happened, and let's just say they have, 100,000 pesos. That's their life saving. They got 100,000 pesos. And they're doing all right. They got a little shop, or one's got a shop, one's got a job. They're just an average couple, right? They've been saving for the last 20 years, and they've rustled up 100,000 pesos. And by the way, it's the 1990s. Oh, Jesus. But here's a fun fact. Did you know Argentina used to be the richest country on the planet for a long, long, long time? And then now it's pretty much the opposite. So they're living their lives, and the parents of Paula and Pablo have told them, the old stuff, work hard, save money, save, and you'll be all right. Well, let's have a look at what happened in, I've lost my thingy. Where is it? This one. Here we go. Let's have a look at what happened to Argentino peso. Let's look at the historical 2022. Yeah. So for a long, long time, 1 peso equaled $1 US. US dollar, which is great. Until the Argentinian government shat their pants. And this is what happened. So, come on, where is it? No. That's 2020. I want, give me the dirt. I want 89. Apparently, I have to pay money to get all of that. Let's find somewhere else. I want a chart. One of these will do. I'm pretty sure. Sorry about this. I thought I had it preloaded. Evidently, I didn't. Time peso historical exchange rate. Come on. I'll give this. I'm just going to open up a whole bunch of browsers. It'll be here somewhere. 1914. Yep. No. That's 2013. No. I had it the other day, which is really annoying. Here we go. No, that's all of this year. God damn it. Anyway, I'll cut to the point because I don't want to bore you all. Overnight, pretty much overnight, what happened was this. So this was the Argentine peso. It was 1 for 1, and then boom. All of a sudden, it revalued, and it took 3 pesos to equal $1 US. So overnight, Paula and Pablo suddenly lost a third of their wealth. No, more than that. Yeah. So they lost more than that, because now, in order to have that same dollar, so they basically had $100,000, and then overnight, they now had $30,000 basically, or $33,000. And this didn't stop. And every economic advisor and financial advisor said, "Oh no, this is fine. This is, it will be right." And then what they didn't see, or what no one saw back then, well, not the establishment. But the Argentine peso just kept on devaluing to the point where what is the point? Where is it now? It is, if we do it the other way around, so USD ARS, look at it, 95. That's how much it's devalued. So went from 3 pesos to equal $1, and now it's 95 pesos to get $1. That is one devaluation and a half. So poor Pablo and Paula, they're now penniless. And this is what most people do. They don't know how to invest, and they get absolutely shafted by the government all the time. Like, you don't need to listen to me. Just read some history books. You'll see this has happened for thousands of years. And so everything I'm saying right now is not groundbreaking. It's not revolutionary. I'm just teaching you history, folks. So what could you have done? And by the way, this wasn't like a quick, sharp thing. I mean, this happened over 20 odd years. And that's why it's so insidious, because people think, oh, okay, I've just lost a third of my wealth. It'll be fine. And then it'll happen again and again. And then you just spend the rest of your life breaking even, or not even breaking even, just slowly dying a slow financial death. So what can you do? Well, here's what you can do. Well, let's redo this. We got Pablo and Paula. In fact, they're quite unhappy at the moment. They've just lost a shit ton. So what could they do if they had hindsight? Let's say they go back to the 1990s, or hell, the year 2000 or whatever. They could have stepped in at any point and changed their, like, look at this. Oh wow, we've got it here. All along, this chart that I was looking for was actually on TradingView. Huh. So as you can see, obviously the chart is inverse, so it's going up instead of down. 1 peso equaled $1. Then all of a sudden, it just went straight to $3, 3 pesos to $1. And then it did nothing so the best part of a decade, it stayed at that peg. So, 6 years. And then the Argentine government got in so much debt. They're like, oh, let's just print a silly amount of money every month to pay our debts. And that's why you start seeing this constant devaluation. Constant. Like, the people of Argentina don't have a freaking chance unless they're switched on. And you could have, at this point, so I don't know, let's say you've grown up, you've watched this, your whole family's been rinsed over the years from, let's say you're a millennial, you've watched your parents get hammered from the year 2000 onwards, 2007, it's now 2018, and you're probably thinking, oh man, 25 pesos to $1, it can't get any worse than this. It'll be all right. Will it? Will it? Really? So, and I know I giggle. It's not actually that funny, because people are literally starving to death in Argentina in some places, same as Venezuela. And so this is not going to continue. You would be a raving lunatic to think that this is going to come back down and we'll end up seeing $1 equals 1 peso. It's never going to happen ever in history. So let's say you're now Pablo Jr. and Paula Jr. You're a new couple, you're a millennial, and you're trying to learn from your parents' mistakes and your grandparents' mistakes. What can you do? Well, you've got hindsight, don't forget. You're sat there, let's say, it's 2021. You're looking at this chart. You're following this cool dude called Siam Kid from England. Seems to know what he's on about. And you understand that this is only going one way. It's only going up. And you don't want to follow in your father's footsteps or your grandparents' footsteps. So you have hindsight. What can you do? Well, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to leverage to the max, i.e., borrow as much as you can in pesos. That's the key thing here. Right, it sounds like someone's having a wee, so I'm just going to mute everyone. Stand by. Mute all. Here we go. Again, thanks for everyone that's here today. I think we've got, what, like 31 on Facebook, 30 on YouTube, and about, and 20 on Zoom. So cool. Thanks for being here, folks. So yeah, here's what you can do. Leverage to the max. So you need to borrow as much as you can in pesos. So here's the thing. One little side point about that. Debt is nominal. Not many people understand this. Debt is nominal. And what I mean by that is if I borrow £100,000, or plus interest, that is all I owe. £100,000 plus interest. Now, if the pound sterling suddenly went wee in terms of hyperinflation or inflation, and now it's got so bad that, the average wage is, £1,000 an hour because hyperinflation has got so crazy. Well, don't you think I'm going to be paying this debt off a lot faster than normal? So that is why, debt is nominal. So this is why let's not delete that. So this is why I need to borrow as much as I can in pesos. If I have a business, I'm going to forward finance as much as I can. So I would, instead of getting paid on a monthly basis, try and do a little discount and say, look, I'm going to build this house for you, but I'd like payment up front, please. I don't want to be paid every month. And the reason you don't want to be paid over time is because what's the peso doing? It's doing this, as in it's flittering away against the dollar. Or in fact, the value is doing this. So you want to get your money up front. So forward finance. You also need, if you have any assets, borrow on assets. So you could be sat in a house, you could have a house. Well, freaking remortgage it. Borrow, lever your house to the max, again, in pesos. Now, here's the thing. Hopefully, you're now sat in lots of pesos. What are you going to do? This is the key thing. This is your safety boat. This is your emergency safety boat when, the Titanic is dying. You need to convert pesos into the dollar. Now, quick side point. It could be the dollar. It could be something else. What I actually mean by this is that if you want to be technical, you need to convert it into an asset or currency. I'll just put currency that is deflationary or non-inflationary in comparison. Inflationary in comparison, okay? Now, we all know the dollar is being printed away like this, but if the Argentinian peso is being printed away like this, the US dollar is going to be a much better place to have your wealth than the peso. Ideally, find something better than the dollar, because the dollar is doing exactly the same as the peso, just a bit slower. So you need to convert into dollars, or, as I said, something non-inflationary. And then you need to store USD offshore. Because what's actually offshore? So what's actually happened in the past is there have been business owners and wealthy individuals in Argentina that had huge amounts of dollars in their bank accounts, but in an Argentinian bank. And what the government did is went, we're in trouble. We're going to we're repegging revaluing the peso, yada, yada, yada. And they reprimanded or commandeered dollars in Argentinian banks. So if you're Pablo and Paula and done really well up until this point, you could done the perfect playbook, and you've borrowed max, everything, and you could fall foul by just storing all of those dollars in an Argentinian bank, and then all of a sudden, they go, sorry, we're going to take your dollars and we'll just give you pesos, and you're like, mother, and then it's game over. So you need to store. So there's a few little things here. You need to store it offshore. Just open up a bank and store it somewhere where the government can't reprimand your US dollars. Does this make sense so far? Because there is a catch line here, folks, and we're not there yet. So I'm just having a look at the chat box. Where has the chat box gone? Always disappears. Cool. Right. So let's move on. Here's the first punchline. It's not the second punch. I guess here's the main punchline. This is a very facetious example, right? But this is you. This is the 60 people watching this right now. This is who's on the list. I can only see the names of those in Zoom, but this is, Alexander, Amanda, Carmel, Eileave, Elijah, Gorinda, Hadley. Everyone that's watching this right now, we are all in the same freaking Titanic. Except our Titanic is not called the peso. It's not, the renminbi. Our Titanic is called pound sterling. I'm guessing everyone here is watching from the UK. We are in the same shit tip of a situation as Pablo and Paula. So what do we need to do? We know that the government is going to inflate our currency into oblivion. We know the purchasing power of the dollar or the pound is going down the toilet. Obviously, it's happening a lot slower than what we're seeing in Argentina or Venezuela or any of these countries that are seeing crazy inflation, but it is happening. And the reason we don't experience this or understand it is because it's insidious, because it's so slow. What's going to happen is you're going to be diluted away over the next 10, 20 years, and you won't know about it. And so what can we do? So we're in the shit, you're basically, everything you do in your life is to earn pounds or dollars, but you're basically storing your wealth in shit coins. That's what's happening. This is why the more I get into the macroeconomics of crypto and all this sort of stuff, I'm absolutely flabbergasted at how many people don't understand this. And they may go, oh God, you're such a doom fearer, mongerer, whatever, Simon, like everything is fine. Well, it isn't. Just look at history. And I'm going to be sitting pretty over the next 5, 10, 20 years. And a lot of people are going to not be sitting pretty. And they're going, well, there's no way you could have known this would happen. Well, no, that's just plain laziness. So we're in the Titanic. So what do? We need to leverage to the max. We need to borrow as much as you can in GBP. We need to forward finance or get a business, do whatever you can. You need to borrow on assets if you can in GBP. Now, we need to convert our GBP into something, going back to that definition, we need to basically convert it and harbor our wealth in anything that is deflationary in terms of currency supply or non-inflationary in comparison. So you then need to scour the world. If the pound sterling is basically losing that in value over time, well, you need to store it in something which is either losing it a lot slower or something that's staying flat, or even better, something that goes up in value. That's where you make the real wealth. Storing your wealth in something that goes up in value, and then you just use the pound sterling as something to spend your groceries on, but you convert it into pounds, at time of purchase. So here's the thing. I've done the research for you. Bitcoin. Now, when I say Bitcoin, I mean crypto as a whole, but really everything I do in crypto is to amass as much Bitcoin value as possible, if that makes sense. So I'm not going to go into the whole flipping between altcoins to Bitcoin, all that sort of stuff. I'm just going to say Bitcoin. And then you need to store your Bitcoin offshore. Now, how do you do that? Well, it's really freaking simple. You just open up a Bitcoin wallet and it's there in cyberspace. Remember, Bitcoin is a borderless censorship resilient cyber space bank. People that don't understand Bitcoin say, oh, it has no intrinsic value, it has no utility value. They're missing the point. They couldn't be further away from the truth. Bitcoin is not going to be the global currency, which a lot of people still seem to think it's trying to be. It's not. It's not going to be the thing you buy your groceries with. It's going to be the global reserve currency. It is a borderless, censorship-resilient cyberspace bank. And therefore, we cannot and we must not try and value Bitcoin like we do with other crypto. Like as I said, like if we get to, I don't know, coin market cap here, and I'm looking at, Ethereum has got $500 billion market cap, etc. Some people could think, oh my God, that's or let's take Doge. There's me going, Doge has $65 billion in it. It's massively overvalued, yada, yada, yada. You cannot look at Bitcoin in the same way. Just like if you had a bank and it started off with 100 million pounds of assets under management, and then all of a sudden it ballooned to 100 billion under management, it wouldn't necessarily mean that the bank is overvalued. Obviously, the bank is doing something well, it's looking after its customers, and therefore more people are being attracted to it. A bit like Starling and Revolut, like these are, banking type entities which are offering really good service, and therefore there's more money coming into them. Doesn't mean they're overvalued. It just means that they're just looking after more money. And Bitcoin is exactly the same thing. It's a cyberspace bank. The second you put some Bitcoin in a wallet and you own the private keys, you have basically put it offshore. This is how you protect yourself from what's coming into the US. US and the UK. And if you still don't believe me, please just type in, I don't know, pound sterling, it's GBP M2 chart. Here we go. Trading economics, M2 money supply. Let's look at max. Oh, would you look at that? Now you're probably thinking, oh, this doesn't look like much. It's not like vertical. Well, this is where compounding interest and exponential growth comes in. If you have something doing this for a long enough time, it gets nuts. I mean, it took Warren Buffett 50 plus years to become a billionaire. And then it took no time at all to become a multi-billionaire. And it's the same with Bitcoin. If you look at Bitcoin in terms of its how fast it's grown, it's basically taken the best part of, I'm being very rough with my numbers here. It took, sorry, let's draw a better chart here. I'm just trying to think of the axes here. So if we take Bitcoin, it took, I don't know, let's say 11 years, almost 12 years to basically get to $1 trillion market cap. How long do you think it'll take for Bitcoin to get to $2 trillion? So let's say it's there. I reckon for Bitcoin to get to $2 trillion market cap, it's probably only going to take another year. It'll probably take a year to get to 2. Then how long do you think it's going to take to get to 3 trillion and then 10 and then 10? Like the time increment of Bitcoin getting traction is going to get closer and closer and closer to a point it's going to do something like this. And we'll wake up one day and we'll see, $1 trillion entering just Bitcoin alone in the space of a month. Next month, another trillion, and then another trillion, as the world's wealth slowly cottons onto the fact that Bitcoin is the offshore bank to everyone. And what do you think will happen when, let's say, a country like Venezuela or Argentina or Costa Rica or Iran suddenly go, oh shit, we're getting hammered. The US are putting sanctions on us. Screw it. Let's just go to Bitcoin and have the Bitcoin standard, and we'll plow all of our strategic reserves into Bitcoin. Boom. Like, this is freaking insane, folks. No one's noticing it. Like, this is why I guess I'm irresponsibly long in crypto right now. Every spare penny, like 100% of my spare liquid capital is in crypto right now. And I'm not exiting. At the end of the year, when it gets to, where I think the market will try and consolidate a bit or cool off, I'm not going to cash in. I'm simply going to I'll probably convert all my alts into Bitcoin, and then I'll just sit there in Bitcoin in a wallet. And if I ever need cash, I'll just borrow off of my Bitcoin, just like people borrow off of their house or whatever. And here's the other thing I want to show you. I did some work here, and I got basically the amount, the percentage that the US dollar has been printed every single year since over the last 20 years. So from 2001 till now. So in 2009, the US increased its currency supply by 9.6%, 6.42%, yada, yada, yada. And so what happens is that if you look at the compound annual growth rate of the US dollar, as in the currency supply, it's growing at a CAGR of 7%. So what this is meaning, so an easy way to think of this is that this is real inflation. Now, the government bullshits us with the CPI, the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, and they say, oh no, inflation's 1%. Well, that's rubbish. Just look at your house, like your mortgage, your rent, groceries, and every single thing in your life right now. Like nothing is going at 1%. Look at the freaking Freddo chocolate bar. I bought one the other day, 38 pence I paid for it. 38p. At school, I was buying them for 10p. So that's in the space of like 15 years. Freddos have gone, like, stayed pretty much the same size, but tripled in price. That's real inflation. So really, if you look at currency dilution in the US, CAGR at 7.03%, that's real inflation, right there. So if your investments are making you less than 7% per year, you're losing money. So this is your benchmark. Now, what happens, like in a situation like what we're seeing right now, where if you look at since 2020, again, another chart. If you look at like blah, 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 boom. This is what happened in March 2020. Everything was printing. And it's gone nuts. So this is, if you just look at M1 or M2, it doesn't really matter. And so everyone is asking the question well, every country is printing billions and billions and trillions to pay for all the COVID and lockdowns, all that sort of stuff. Where is inflation? Where is it? Because, our groceries haven't gone up at the same speed. Like last year, they increased the currency supply by 25%. And also, I think something like, I worked out the other day that something like 75% of all dollars in existence was created in the last year. I have to double check that stat, but it's absolutely nuts. And so you would be correct in asking that question of, well, where's the inflation then? Well, one, we won't have any inflation, as in, proper inflation, until money velocity spikes up. So if you look at money velocity, Fred, so the velocity of money isn't really doing anything. It's just plummeting. So you're not going to get any real inflation. But the inflation, what's actually happened is all of that inflation, which people are expecting, has simply been hoovered up into assets. The stock market, that's where it's all gone. That is where all of this money printing has gone. It's gone into the stock market. So if you were just to get a chart of, the S&P 500, SPX, here we go. And this is let's put it on the, the weekly chart. Since March 2020, when they started printing like crazily, this is where the inflation has gone. All of the money printing has just been hoovered up into the stock market and corporate buybacks. That is the only reason. So there are people thinking, oh, I'm 30% up over the last year with my, my tracker fund or whatever. I'm really smart. You're not. That's inflation. That's not ROI. You may look at it as an ROI, but it's actually inflation. And if you were to, I don't have the time right now because I've been rabbiting on long enough, but if you were to basically take the global US currency supply market cap and divide that by the S&P 500, you'll actually see that the S&P 500 hasn't rallied at all. When you look at real terms, the S&P 500 has actually gone flat. So that's where it's all gone. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah. So I then looked at S&P 500. I did the same thing. Let's turn this into black writing. And so here's the crazy thing. Look at the CAGR for the S&P 500. 5.24%. not good. So in relation to the actual currency supply, like if you're just plowing in the S&P 500, contrary to popular belief, you're not actually doing that well. You're standing still pretty much. I then did the same for gold. Gold is slightly better in terms of CAGR, but it's still pretty pants. Like gold hasn't really done much. And this is hard for me to say because I've been a massive gold and silver fan for a big chunk of my life. I guess since 2009, where I bought my first silver coin, I've been a massive gold and silver bug. But I've now fully pivoted in my thinking of gold and silver. I mean, it's done very well. I sold a bunch of silver the other day, or the other week, and I've made roughly 350% ROI, over the last 7 years with my silver. But so ROI, it's been okay. But for what its use case is, there's just better alternatives. Bitcoin is basically has every pro that gold has, but none of the defects. It really is. Bitcoin is simply the global reserve currency, the unofficial global reserve currency, or it will be. And then, so I looked at all of this, and then I thought, okay, let's just look at Bitcoin. Now, this is just nuts. So obviously, Bitcoin didn't get going. It was created in 2009. We then had price discovery in 2010 when Laszlo Hayek bought 2 pizzas for something like 10,000 Bitcoin or something ridiculous like that. It is the pizza guy. In fact, I just want to double check how many. It's something ridiculous. Bitcoin pizza story. Yeah, he bought 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin. Right now, yeah, that's worth a lot. So that's when we had first price discovery. And price discovery meant that Bitcoin was roughly 10 cents. And since then, it's gone up 5.2 million%. It's the fastest growing asset in human history. And it has a CAGR of 200%. 200% CAGR, as in compound annual growth rate, which is just freaking insane. To put this in perspective, if you were to get a CAGR calculator out here and just type in CAGR calculator, and just play around with some numbers. So if you start off with 10 grand and you end up with, I don't know, £1 million, what is that? That's a million. I just want to, where's the CAGR? No, that's a bit fast. What about 5 years? No, 4 years. Almost. Put 3.5. Oh no, 3 and 6 months. Oh man, this is not working well. Okay, it's basically so to work out the growth of that, like that's like going from a standing start of like having a net worth of £10,000 and going to £1 million net worth in 4 years. Like if that's the sort of growth Bitcoin has done. Now, I haven't had time to extrapolate this, but what do you think is going to happen in the future? So, I mean, last year, look at this. The currency increased by 25.75% US dollar. It's going to do the same, roughly the same in 2021. And then we know what knowing what you know about Argentina, etc. This is only going to increase. And so, like, the only thing that I can see which makes any logical sense, like, I always look at everything like I'm an alien, and I just come back to this. I need to convert my wealth into an asset that is deflationary or non-inflationary in terms of supply in comparison to the pound. Well, I've scoured the globe, and the only things that make more than the pound, or more than say 10% a year consistent. Well, no, ignore 10% a year. The only thing that really works for me is Bitcoin and business. That is why I'm in business, because I can generate cash flow faster than most other assets out there. And then what am I doing with that cash flow? I'm keeping enough of it in the business so I don't choke the business to death. But every spare penny I'm putting into crypto. This is, I mean, what was the title of today? Something like The World's Worst Shitcoin and How You'd Survive if there was big or hyperinflation inbound. Well, this is inbound. The tidal wave of, value is being... I struggle to put things into words, but hopefully hopefully this has made sense over the last hour of why you need to be incredibly bearish on the dollar and the pound, and you need to take personal monetary sovereignty and basically be Pablo and Paula. Don't fall into the minefield that your parents did. And guess what? Just put it this way. Let's imagine you're Pablo and Paula in Argentina. Where is he? Over here? Something like over here. And then you go to a financial advisor, a financial planner, a fund manager, or whatever. Not a single thing on the planet they put you in would have prepared you or would have looked after you. So if you go back to say that anything, like just let's say Argentina, any time from 1990s till now, what would a financial planner put you in? They would put you into a bunch of structured products because that gives them good fees. They would put you into some sort of tracker or trackers. They may put you into some bonds or gilts, so government bonds. They'll say keep some in cash, maybe, rainy day fund, all the standard stuff. And then, they'll probably put you into some, trackers, stocks, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So you could speak to any financial advisor or planner on the planet, even now, even with what history has shown us, and they'll take your risk appetite. They'll ask you a million questions, but regardless of what your answers to the questions are, they're going to put you into some sort of flavor of this. Well, if you did that in 1990 or in the year 2000 or over the last couple of years in Argentina, you'd be shitting bricks right now. You'd be livid because the fund manager, the IFA, got paid, even though the things that they put you in have basically made you poor. And what is happening right now, even in the UK right now, you go to an IFA right now, they will put you into something like this. A massively diversified portfolio to mitigate the risk, all that yada, yada, yada. And what they're massively missing is that our currency is inflating away faster than you think. And so, yeah, this is why the only solution is this. Exit into Bitcoin, basically. And I know I'm probably going to get a whole bunch of trolls and haters and saying, you only talk about the upsides of crypto and blah, blah. Well, I don't need to talk about the downsides of crypto anymore because that's what the main media are doing. And the downsides that I used to talk about crypto are defunct. It's no longer true anymore. The whole industry is not risky. In 2017, I was saying a lot, crypto is risky. Only put risk capital into it. It's not that anymore. The risk has been... crypto risk has been defanged. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to basically check out the questions, starting with Zoom because Zoomers have priority. Please, folks, in the future, join Zoom. It's much better. Rob said, explain Japan, please. Basically, Japan has been in somewhat of a depression for the last 90 years. 20 years. So if you look at the Nikkei, and let's go to the monthly chart. Look at this. So obviously we've had an uptick recently, but we hit all-time highs in 1989 in the Japanese stock market. And everyone said, oh no, it will recover. House prices and stock prices will recover. Well, they didn't. And they still haven't recovered. And for the last 20 odd years, they've just been massively in debt. They've just ran up the printing press. That's why whenever you play with the yen, it's in thousands. It's because they've printed so much. They're on like QE a million by now. So that, yeah. Alexander said, cash dollars are illegal in Argentina. I wonder why. Even gold was illegal for people to hold in America at some point in the 1970s. No, incorrect. That was 1932 with Roosevelt. They made private ownership of gold illegal, and you had to then cash in your gold to a local Federal Reserve outlet, and they'll give you a Federal Reserve note. And what happened? So this is really crazy. In 1932, what happened with that? You had two types of dollars in circulation. You had the original greenback, which was the actual US dollar, which is what people called the greenback, and then you had this dual currency floating around at the same time called a Federal Reserve note. And so what people handed in their gold, they got Federal Reserve notes in exchange, and then over the period of 5 years, the greenback died, and the whole US dollar became the Federal Reserve note. Pick up a US dollar. I used to carry one around because it's a joke. Not in my wallet anymore. Nope. Every US dollar isn't a dollar anymore. Look at every note; it'll say Federal Reserve note. But yeah, so that's a bit of side trivia there. Hadley, please can you just elaborate a little around the debt being nominal? You borrow 100K, you have to pay back 100K plus interest. During hyperinflation, surely the interest rates ramp to, no, it's not. So if I borrow 100 grand from you and I'm paying you 10% APR, that is fixed. I owe you 100 grand plus 10%. If hyperinflation kicks in, the APR that I pay you doesn't change because we have a contract. You can't just change the contract and go, no, you owe me 100 grand plus 50% interest now. So that's what I mean by debt is nominal. So let's just say I'm earning 100 grand a year and I borrow, let's say I save, let's say I earn 100 grand a year. I've borrowed 100K loan from you. Plus, 10%. Well, that's what I owe you. That is our contract. That is our legally bound contract. I owe you 100K plus 10%. But if hyperinflation kicks in or big inflation kicks in, and because of the amount of currency being out there, instead of making 100 grand a year, I'm now making 500 grand a year from just doing the same stuff. Well, I'm going to be able to pay off your debt a lot quicker and a lot easier because whoever's doing the debt is up, well, not shit's creek, but yeah, they don't get the best deal, if that makes sense. Next question. Gurinder, bought my first Bitcoin last night. Woohoo! We'll keep it in my Binance account be sufficient enough to what you describe as keeping it offshore? No. If you're going to do this properly, you need to take it off an exchange and put it into your own wallet. Even if it's something like something on your phone, just something outside of exchange. Coinomi works. You can download the app called Coinomi. Or there's loads of wallets that you can get. But yeah, take it off the exchange if you're going to do this properly. And at some point, I'll start taking my stuff off the exchange as well. Tara, government may well hike up CGT rates to tax crypto investors. Any thoughts? That's a guaranteed. They will do that. The answer is don't sell your crypto, keep it and borrow off it. Then you never ever pay CGT. Billionaires don't give a shit about CGT because billionaires never sell. Elon never sells his stocks. But Bezos is the other one. I use Bezos as a bit of an indicator. Bezos, he must have insider information because he sells huge amounts of his personal Amazon stock a couple of months before worldwide calamities happen or big market crashes. Just a bit of Google research. Look at all the times he's sold huge, like billions or hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Amazon stock. It's always been a month or two before something big happening. He sold off massively in January, February, before the COVID stuff happened last year. He did it before all the big stock crashes. So I think he's got inside information there personally. So yeah, I'm not going to sell. You simply borrow off of your crypto. And put it this way, like crypto, like you'll end up having somewhat of a self-liquidating loan, because if you borrow, let's say you stump up $100,000 worth of Bitcoin, okay, you can then borrow, let's say 50 grand. Let's say you borrow off it. Let's say you want some cash, okay, and you're going to get 10K loan. So you basically pop, you put some of your Bitcoin in a deposit. It'll be like a a crypto loan thing like Aave or whatever, and you'll be paying back somewhat of APR. No, let's just call it 10%. But the thing is, let's say Bitcoin doesn't appreciate at 200% CAGR anymore. Okay, let's just say all of a sudden so much money's gone into Bitcoin. It's now a massive institution and it only grows at 25% CAGR, which is still freaking crazy. Well, what you can do is, well, in fact, let's just make it 100K. You could, out of that 100K, you could blow 50 grand on stuff. And then the 50K that you've also, the other 50K, you could just put that back into Bitcoin. And then at 25% CAGR, this Bitcoin that you bought with this loan is going to end up paying back the debt that you did. It's a self-liquidating loan. You take out a loan and the loan pays for itself over a period of time. So, yeah. Says Tara, also, are your vids on making a paper wallet on YouTube still up to date, as they were made a while back? I'm not sure. I made them back in 2017, so I'll have to relook. But the quick one is that I'm pretty sure there's thousands of videos on YouTube about, Bitcoin wallet 2021. Just type that and you'll probably find loads. Andrew Bailey dislikes this. Yes. Solid talk, love it. Oh, thank you. John, hi, Simon. My mum sadly died last year. I'm so sorry, mate. And left me a house, which I rent out to the people who looked after her. I think I could probably take out £150. I think probably 150K out of the house, but not confident to put it all in Bitcoin. What are your thoughts? I can't tell you what to do. I literally can't give you any financial advice whatsoever. I'm so sorry, mate. However, what I did say earlier is that 100% of my spare capital is in crypto, and every penny that I get is going into crypto right now. That's all I'm doing, based on stuff I've said in previous videos and everything I'm seeing right now, saying today. Hitton just joined, realized session start at 11. Can I watch catch up? Yeah. Just a quick one for those of you who are new here. All you need to do is go to YouTube, type in Siam Kid, click on my channel. Hey, look, we're live. Go to playlists. And if you look at, find the playlist, which is free. Oh, no, not free crypto. Where is it? Wealth Generation Social Chats. Every one of these daily live chats I'm doing, the recording goes in this playlist. And the most recent ones are at the bottom. So we did the YouTube marketing expert interview yesterday. That's there now, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, catch up over there. Adam Stevens sent a link. Whale Wisdom, good site for insider buying and selling. Oh, interesting. Oh yeah, so this is for Tesla. So there's some big, what are these? Elon Musk. What's Elon doing? Oh, that was years ago. Oh, so these are more recent ones. Okay, cool. Hadley, so raising pounds against assets, you recommend always at a fixed rate, not a variable rate mortgage, as they can increase. Yeah, so you're talking about mortgages. Yeah, so variable rate stuff, that will go up and then you're screwed. So always fixed rate. Then you know where you stand, and then you can just do normal arbitrage. So because that's how I make money at the end of the day. I can, if I borrow at 10%, I then just have to make it my mission to make more than 10%, and then you've made profit. Or it's just like a business. You buy a widget for 50p, try and sell it for £1, and you made some profit. It's the same with debt. All that debt does is it puts the jacks up under it and accelerates it accelerates you basically. Right, so that's the Zoom questions. What do we have for the YouTube questions? Let's have a look. Sweet, lots of YouTube questions here. Hey, folks. There's like 46 of you here now. Nice. Mohammed, ETH is open supply as well. Yep, I know. ETH is crazy. It's just had so much money go into it. So, yeah. However, that's going to change with ETH 2.0. Gregory, Simon, what are your thoughts on the Pi coin? That group seems to be coming up with some invent. I've no idea, never heard of it. So, as I said, I don't really pay much interest and I don't do any crypto research because it's too fast. You're out of date like within a day. Lucid Chronicles, shitcoin is USD, lol. Yep, agreed. Querty Burr said Pi is an ETN clone. Fair enough. Lucid, never doubt trading view. Lucid Chronicles, Bitcoin, land, art, wine, gold. Yep, agreed. Or other precious metals. Yeah. Hard time switching between alts and Bitcoin if not experienced. Easy way to play it, just hold Bitcoin. Yeah, for the average Joe, just hold Bitcoin, be done with it. Come back in 5 years. So yeah. Ruchi Vashishta. I'm a Bitcoin fan, but I think people like Ray Dalio make a good point about government intervention. If the government do feel threatened by it, they can go full authoritarian in terms of regulation. Yeah, they can. They can't kill it though. If you look at history, every time a government is trying to ban something, what does the price do? The price goes nuts. Look at the US when they had prohibition and they banned alcohol in loads of states. What happened to the price of alcohol? It went to the moon. What happened when Roosevelt did, I forgot what section it was called, but in 1932 when they banned private ownership of gold over the next 10 years rallied. So yeah, they'll try and get all over it because they want the tax revenue from it, but they can't. Like, this is why they need to store it offshore, as in get it off an exchange onto your wallet. So wrong questions. Lucid, Simon, do you think that the days of big Bitcoin crashes are over? Yeah, I do. There's simply a tsunami, a wall of money that's plowing into Bitcoin constantly, that it's dampening the volatility of Bitcoin. So we won't see ridiculous growth like you won't see another 5.2 million% growth over the next 10 years. That's not going to happen. But yeah, what will happen is that we'll probably only have 30% corrections or a max of 50. I can't see a 90% correction anymore happening ever again for Bitcoin. Simon Platt, a masterclass, mate. Oh, thanks, mate. Can you say something about how the network could be hacked or not? Presumably, is that or is that what a 51% attack is? Yeah, like the reason Bitcoin has never been hacked, and it's likely not to be hacked, because if you were to brute force attack it, i.e. do a 51% attack, you would need to spend the best part of $20 billion and all of the supercomputers on the planet to do a concerted, directed attack on the network. It's not going to happen. It just can't be hacked. And even if everyone starts talking about quantum computing and how that can hack it, the thing is, quantum computing, you've got one bullet in the chamber. If I had a quantum computer that could hack any system on the planet, I wouldn't dick around in the crypto market. It's only a $2 trillion market. What would I do? I'd focus on the $1.6 quadrillion currency market or the $100 trillion bond market. Like, cryptos is a minnow. It's nothing. So if I had one bullet in the chamber, and by the way, the reason I say one bullet is because the moment you do a quantum attack, everyone will then become quantum resilient. It's actually quite easy to become quantum resilient in a network. And lots of cryptos are already quantum resilient. So yeah, you got one bullet in the chamber. I'm not going to dick about playing with Bitcoin. I'm going to hack the $100 trillion bond market and steal money off the governments. That's what I'd do. I wouldn't steal money. If I hack Bitcoin, I'm basically stealing wealth from the poor. If I was, like that, I'd steal, wealth from the rich. I'd be like a Robin Hood quantum attacker. I'd steal, $100 trillion from the US government and then do some good shit with that money instead of war. So yeah, that's what I'd do. The vaping FPV, does it make sense to pound cost average into Bitcoin? Yes, it does. Say a few hundred a week regularly. Thanks, Simon. Yes, it does. It makes perfect sense. I did an example, a little exercise years ago, and also again this year. But if you I'm not going to do it because it'll take too long. But if you get a chart of Bitcoin, just put it on the weekly chart and then look at it from sort of 2017 onwards, and then just imagine, and then just buy every single month. And if you were to buy, let's say you're the world's worst investor, and you bought the high, you literally got in the peak of every single month. So you got in here, right at the top at 19,000, here, and you got in the peak. Look at where you are now. you're in massive profit, even if you bought at the peak of every single month. Pound cost averaging works, folks. Well, pound cost averaging works on an asset that is likely to continue an upward trajectory. Pound cost averaging in a shitcoin that's going down doesn't work. Gregory, Simon, is there any scenario in which Bitcoin can crash and become worthless? It's a good question. What scenario will Bitcoin become worthless? I can only think of two situations where Bitcoin literally becomes worthless. One, we have a solar flare. If we have a solar flare, we have bigger problems, because if a solar flare comes out and takes out Bitcoin, it's also taking out every electricity grid on the planet. And yeah, as Raymond just said on Zoom, it's a worldwide EMP. So if Bitcoin is taken out from a solar flare, you've got bigger problems like you have no electricity, no hot water, no food. The supermarkets won't get replenished because cars won't work. So that's one thing. World end, that's like a financial Armageddon. But on the flip side, if we had a solar flare that bad that it took out Bitcoin, guess what? Every data center will be wiped clear. So any debt you have will be wiped. Your mortgage, wiped. But on the flip side, your pension will also be wiped. So the solar flare thing, I'm not even going to consider being a scenario, because, I'll be more worried about protecting my family and stuff like that. The other scenario is if China wanted to kill Bitcoin. China is the only entity that could actually kill Bitcoin, because something like 65% of all Bitcoin mining is in China right now. And in order to kill it, all that would happen, mind you, it wouldn't actually kill it. It would just pause it. All I would do is simply basically bomb every Bitcoin mining center in China. There we go. Done. Or not even bomb, just take out the power. Just do a permanent power cut to every Bitcoin mining center in China. That will then clog up the Bitcoin network for freaking months. And it would take months for the rest of the world to pick up the mining slack. Meanwhile, miners across the world will make an absolute fortune. But yeah, it'll take months to pick up the slack. And so, yeah, there'll probably be a 50%, 60% crash if that happened. And transactions will take, weeks to process. But yeah, it's unlikely. Lucid said, Simon, do you have an ISA and SIP, or are the tax benefits not worth it? Just throw everything into crypto. I do have a SIP. It's actually quite hilarious. Hargreaves Lansdowne. So I left the Air Force voluntarily. Basically, I had a permanent commission in the Air Force, which meant I was signed in for 21 years or something like that. But because I wanted to leave after 7 or 8 years in the Air Force, I had to do a thing called a PVR, post-voluntary redundancy or something like that. One second. I'm trying to remember my secure number. One second. Yeah, and so I ended up with bugger all pension. And then I dicked around on my pension. And I managed to get it out of my military pension into a SIP. And then mid last year, I put all £8,800 of my SIP into an Ether tracker. And look at it right now. It's sat at 146.5 grand. Now, to me, my SIP money is monopoly money, because it's useless to me. What am I going to do with the SIP? Okay, cute. And in fact, let me rephrase that, because I know everyone's going, oh, you can do loads of things with the SIP. You can do this, you can do that. Yeah, I understand. But the reason I say it's monopoly money and I can't touch it, because I can't touch it. I can't touch the freaking thing until I'm like 55 years old or 65 or whatever. And so this money is useless to me. And so the best thing I can do with my personal SIP is just leave it here. And guess what? Turning 8 grand into 146 is not bad. And although the UK has banned the selling of crypto derivatives, they haven't banned the ownership of crypto derivatives. That's why I've been able to hold it. But they'll come full circle. They'll open up again when the whole world of ETFs pop up, as in crypto ETFs. So yeah, that's my SIP. I've got a little bit into my ISA. I've only got 23 grand in my ISA, and I've just plonked it into Tesla. But yeah, in fact, one of the things I'm considering is just taking it out of Tesla and just put it into crypto, because it's likely to move faster, in my opinion. Maybe. I don't know. I can't give financial advice. I can't say whether something will go up or down on regulated assets, so I won't do that. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the SIP. To me, it's pointless. And the reason I don't like pension money is because, like, if you gave me £1, I can grow that into £2 a lot faster than any freaking SIP can. And I know everyone goes on about, the tax wrapper. Yeah, well, it's all right putting a great tax wrapper around dog shit. It's still dog shit. So you can tax wrap anything you want. Like, there's nothing really in that I can play with in a SIP which can turn £1 into £2 faster than I can do that with actual hard cash. So that's why I've just dumped it and left it in the Ether tracker. So yeah, that's my Monopoly account. That's literally, I just treat it as a Monopoly account because I can't touch it. Maybe one day, if I leave that SIP long enough and it gets to, I don't know, let's say £1 million, I could then go and use it to buy a building. Then it's somewhat handy. I can't really buy much at 150 grand right now. So yeah, maybe if it gets big enough, I'll then, turn it into a property, perhaps. Then it will be slightly more handy. Mohammed said, why last 2 months have many corrections on crypto market? Do you think bear market is coming soon? Nope. It just happens. There's been no correction, mate. Look at the chart. So I lost trading view. There's been here. Just let's take Bitcoin. There hasn't really been. In fact, let's look at the daily chart. It hasn't really been a correction. Yeah, there's been the odd 20-30% thing, but that's just normal movement for crypto. Ether, it's freaking on fire. It does its own, little 20-30%, pullback. So it's not a correction. There's been no real correction. You've seen other bigger corrections on like other, on the lower capped ones, like here. That I guess that was pretty chunky, but the big blue chip crypto has been doing fine. Oh, look at Aave, textbook. What did I say? This is literally back in April. I said, falling compression, rising market. The market will then explode back to structure height, which is this level here. And I drew this freaking arrow, and look what's happened. We had breakout, Kobo, and Kobo's kiss off, bugger off, and that's what's happened. That's lovely. So anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, questions. Quetti Burr. If you dollar cost average from 2008, 18, 20k high, you'd be 10x up right now. I agree. Lucid has said solar flare can't wipe out gold. Yeah. What were the 5 things for survival? I call them the 6 Gs: gold, gun, grub, ground, gasoline, generator. Or 7 Gs, girls. You need girls to repopulate the planet, right? If if it's Mad Max time, you need the 7 Gs: gold, gun, grubs, ground, gasoline, generator, girls. So what's the name of that ETH tracker? I've just logged out. It's something like it. You can't buy it anymore. It was like XBT ETH tracker, but you literally can't buy it anymore. Right. So that's let's look at the Facebook chat comments, and then we'll call it a day. Facebook. Here we go. Clicking. Too many screens open here. Jason is a gazillion. Oh, that's ages ago. Siam, what was the shitcoin you put some of your profits in? Yeah, it's hilarious. I put in, if we go to CoinMarketCap again. So this is the 30th of April I did this. So I went into SafeMoon. I couldn't justify putting 25 grand into this shitcoin. So I actually only put $2,000 into SafeMoon on the 30th of April down here. I've more than doubled my money on that one. And then Kishu Inu, whatever it's called, Kishu Inu. On the 30th of April, I put, I got in down here, and that's just Moon. That's 10x'd easily. So yeah, that's just nuts. Noel Murph, Zimbabwe for hyperinflation. Yep. Ross, Noel, is it a good idea to take your pounds and move to Argentina and be a millionaire? So what you can actually do is you can take your pounds now, go to Argentina, but don't convert to the peso. Use your pounds to buy up assets in Argentina, like houses, and then keep your money in the pound, or even better, Bitcoin. But yeah, you can live like a king in Argentina if you wanted to. I don't know what Tom said. Do you honestly it gets that status? Not sure. Do you honestly think it will get to that status? Maybe. David said, really interesting talk. Siam. Sorry. Are you familiar with Shrimpy for managing crypto? And would this be a good hands-off portfolio? Okay, Shrimpy is a rebalancing tool. And no, I'm not a fan of rebalancing. I know a lot of fund managers are now going to go, oh my God, Simon knows nothing because he doesn't like rebalancing. But the thing is, what tends to happen with rebalancing is you only rebalance because you don't know what you're doing. So just like diversification is only something you do if you don't know what you're doing. It makes little sense to diversify if you know what you're doing, and rebalancing your portfolio to keep it flat is just my controversial personal opinion. What I don't want to do is exit out of a winner to then rebalance into losers. I let my winners run. So like, had you got into, let's look at Ether, for example. Having said that, I have actually rebalanced some of my Ether. But let's look at Ether. Let's say I had that rebalancing mentality. Like, you would have completely phased out all of your Ether holdings by the time it got to 2000. And then look what happened. It's now 4,200 or whatever. So, and meanwhile, you would have rebalanced into other coins, which hasn't done as well. So that's why I personally don't like rebalancing. I like to, if I've got a winner, if I see a horse which is a winner, I'm going to freaking back that horse. I'm going to feed it the best food I can. I'm going to massage it. I don't know. I'm going to look after it. Now, ironically, so caveat here, I did sell half of my Ether at 3,500 last week, which, looking in hindsight, not the best timing. But I rebalanced them into other coins which I thought would move faster than Ether. So, for example, I moved a bunch into ADA, which actually is, when you look at it, is actually grown faster than Ether. So that's done all right. However, I did put a bit more into Binance. That's still going up, not as fast as Ether. Put more into Sol. That hasn't done much yet. More into DOT. Yeah, that's paused for a moment. And more into Link. But yeah, just give it time. Give it time. So that's that. So Clive, Germany before the war had crazy hyperinflation. Check that out. Yeah, it's the Weimar hyperinflation, the Weimar Republic hyperinflation. And it was due to the Allies being a bit silly and asking for a lot of their reparations in Deutschmark denominated repayments. And so what happened is Germany went, okay, well, we're just going to print shitloads of Deutschmarks and print away our debt. And then they're like, no, you can't do that. And then, yeah, hyperinflation. Richard, can you currently borrow GBP against Bitcoin you have? If so, who facilitates this? Thanks, mate. Yeah, there's loads of crypto debt. So I think Celsius does it. Celsius network. You can get cash loans from your crypto. I think Compound is another one. Compound crypto. Aave is one, but you can't borrow dollars yet. Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah, so borrow. Here we go. Borrow cash or coins using your crypto. Best headline that you can use if you're a platform like that. Interest starts at 1% APR. Huh, ridiculous. So let's have a little look. In fact, I haven't looked. I'm waiting. I'm not going to basically pin my hopes on any network right now because a lot's going to change from now until the end of the year. But for example, if I wanted to, let's say Bitcoin, I wanted to borrow $50,000, I would need, let's say, over a 36-month period, doing a 25% LTV. I need to plonk down basically, yeah, 3.5 Bitcoin. So what was that, $160,000 or something like that? So yeah, as I said, yeah, 25% LTV. So total interest when paid in sell, yeah, paid in cash is a bit more. So 1%. Cost per month, that is ridiculous. Already, that's a pretty good deal. And it's even less if you pay in Celsius coin. I need to look into that. 1% doesn't seem right. But still. Yeah, so as I said, you plonk 3.5 Bitcoin in, borrow $50,000, and then hell, use that $50,000 to buy more Bitcoin. And then you got this loan that's going to pay itself off. Or spend 20 grand and then put 30 grand into Bitcoin. Like, yeah. So that's that. I actually may give this a go just to see what it's like. Right. So that's that. And I think that's the last question. Oh, and Jed, last question. Hi, Simon. Do you see banks increasing interest rates? Nope, they're going to go to negative long before they go positive. Let's say I own 1-bed house and want to upscale to 2 beds. That means I will increase my debt. My worry is inflation will go up and the banks will increase interest rates. Yes, they will. Eventually, they will. Rates will eventually go up, but once money velocity picks up, won't happen for a while. We'll go negative rates much sooner. Means I'll be throwing more money down the drain, paying interest, asking for a friend. Yeah. I can't give financial advice, folks. I really can't. So I've been staring at these Malteser buttons for the whole session. I've given in. I need some in my belly right now. So, yeah. Hopefully this has helped. Hopefully I haven't lost too many of you. And yeah. Thanks, folks. I've got to go and play golf now. So see ya. See you tomorrow, I guess. 12 o'clock. Don't know what we're going to talk about, but yeah, see ya.